Wikispeed, Lynnwood, Washington, United States shop. It's September 8th, 2016. I'm here with William Newing, and we've just completed shelving in the upstairs, the classroom space above the shop here. William Newing did almost all this while I was downstairs. We'll talk about downstairs in a minute. I just helped out at the end. We assembled the rest of these red IKEA storage bins. Again, William did almost all that. Which lets us put classroom supplies in here, Scrum training books, sticky notes, Sharpies, 3M blue planers tape, the essentials for us to run Scrum classes for for-profits and non-profits, which is primarily what Agile Tier, William Newing's company, does, and then the for-profits, which is what Scrum Inc. and Newing and Associates primarily does. So the space is now mostly set up for classes. Also, this large white calyx was put in place. That's an IKEA shelf type, which lets us put electronics high up. Because when we're not teaching classes, I have my kids play up here, so we need to put the sensitive stuff high up. That happened, and also vacuuming and tidying the space. Downstairs, William and I started arranging a front row of shelves, which gives us essentially a warehouse aisle, where there's one 4-foot wide aisle, and on both sides there's shelves. So pushing a cart down this aisle, stock can be assembled, and there's an entry and an exit on both ends of this aisle. Coming out of that aisle, you're in the 4 bays for assembling cars. So a cart can wheel back to make a supplies run and deliver. Whereas before we had all shelves facing directly where we were building. So you'd walk around the cars to get what you needed. Now there's one route to drop off or pick up supplies. Is what's starting to emerge. So part of that second row of shelves making the warehouse row has started in this shop to make it more of a formal micro factory. Also, we junked and recycled a whole bunch of stuff that was no longer relevant, which we have to do regularly. One of the downsides of rapid agile delivery in hardware is you accrue prototypes every demo, and you can't just delete them. You have to recycle them. You have to have a recycle and reuse plan. So we did a bunch of that today. And the shop had been set up with air compressors, shop air. It turns out we've actually never used it. So we moved it from its permanently located position onto a push cart. So we can push it and plug it into an extension cord and have air, compressed air for air tools or for spraying stuff off or filling up tires, where and when we need it. And we can store and park that when we don't, instead of having it hanging from the shop ceiling at all times. That's what I know of that we got done today. William, what am I missing?
Nope, that is exactly just about it. We were able to fix one of our bugs, quote unquote, to move that a little bit closer to the left storage center. So it is almost just about center. It's pretty close. I said we're about 2.5 inches closer as before, but now that's it, just because there's no room on that plug.
Yeah, so constraints that everyone will run into doing something like this. So by the way, if you're doing a storage wall like this, constraints we had is when we built the storage wall, we didn't know what our shelving plan was. The shelving plan came after building the shop wall. Well, the outlets are where the outlets are. Now what we can do is chisel out a pocket and then put the shelves exactly on center if we wanted to. In this case, we didn't. We would bump the shelves slightly right or left to make room for the outlets. The second constraint is we have thermostats. And this shop is, well, it's built modularly in that there are 4 thermostats. I think I just walked past there. There's 4 thermostats. So we can actually hang floating insulated walls and have 4 separate temperature zones upstairs and downstairs. It was actually just the same price to do that as one large single zone. And we just set them all in sync right now with one large space. But it lets us compartmentalize modularly on a 4 base in the future if we want to. Well, we actually had to lower this thermostat just a 1/4 inch so it would nest. And we won't want to put a whole lot of stuff in here or it'll interfere with the thermostat getting accurate measurements. But again, there's 4 for it to balance across. But we have thermostats that we have to dodge with shelf height, and then we have outlets that we dodge with shelf spacing. Now again, all of that can be fixed with chiseling out. And so we can make a pocket in the shelf for cabling, outlets, thermostats. In this case, we shifted shelves or slightly moved the thermostat. But if you're making a wall of shelves and you're adding it to an existing wall, well, that's a reality you might run into. That was what we did. I hope that helps somebody. Tips for warehousing your Wikispeed microfactory. I'd say try to get standard shelving if you can, as tall as will fit in your space, and set the shelving so it takes a standardized bin, a clear bin. I use Sterilite. They're large bins. I think they're 57 quarts is how they measure that. And the shop's just full of them. And shelf height as high as you can. Standard depth, they're 2 feet deep, 4 feet wide, or some of our shelves are 8 feet wide, which is essentially just 2 of those put together. It holds the same amount of Sterilite bins. We hold 3 wide per shelf. Label your bins, color code your bins is my recommendation. And then have some smooth rolling carts. We use Rubbermaid carts. They cost a little more, but their bearings are great. And their tabletop surface is wide enough to hold a lot of bins stacked as we do a little warehouse run, and to make it, they're strong enough to actually be a workshop table. So if we take the bins off, we use those as mobile workshop tables, and that's where most of our waist height work gets done. With a Rubbermaid bin and 1 shelf and a whole bunch of, and what would that be, like 9, more than that, 12 Sterilite bins, you have your miniature warehouse already started. So you could put that wherever your Wikispeed shop is booting up. There's a tip, maybe that helps. Send us video clips if it works for you. Folks, thanks.